Hello and welcome to another episode of What Else is New. I am Kelly Green. On today's show, it could have been an email. Honest to goodness. We are going to be exploring the Greenspiration email as put out by Angela Bischoff, a very old friend of mine, widow of another old friend of mine, Tucker Gomberg. Now, Angela, every week she puts out the Greenspiration News and Events. Excellent newsletter. Just get on her email list. Here it is, greenspiration@list.web.net. Get on the list. I'm sure there's people on this list. This is probably one of the longest standing activist and environmental and political lists, if not in Canada, then the world. I'm willing to bet that this list predates the internet. Knowing how ahead of the time Tucker was, and Angela, back in the day. Excellent list, once a week. Check it out. Get on it. Then you don't have to watch it here. But if you are watching here, here is a taste of the things that we find on Angela's list. I'll give you the brief summary here, and then we'll get into it. Zero Carbon Weekly Newsletter, Trump departs Paris, California debunks renewable energy myths, Heil Tesla, atomic cover-up, Canadian MP Angus calls for investigation into Musk, Indigenous group vows to stop nuclear waste shipments, Amazon quitting Quebec. There's other stuff. Canadians for Climate Action, Cooperate for Canada. A lot of stuff on voting coming up. We've got How to Fight Fascism, International Remembrance Day for the Holocaust, more climate change stuff, meetings. Ooh, the Atomic Scientist Bulletin Doomsday Clock. Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist Doomsday Clock has been updated. LA fires, nonprofits, what do they need to know about AI policy, some local events in Ontario, Suing Big Oil 101, Nuclear Waste Info Night, film screenings, more local stuff on climate for Toronto, and then a couple of links for Canada's best climate and energy news at theenergymix.com and Democracy Now! Daily Show. Greenspiration News and Events. So you can just ditch this video right now. Go over to greenspiration.org. Yes, greenspiration.org, and it is all there for everyone to see. The Enviro, Health, and News. Where it is. There it is, down at the bottom. News and Events. You can just get this stuff on the web. You don't need me, but you are here, so check it out. Bail anytime. I've got all the links as well in the show note description, so you don't even have to go to greenspiration.org if you don't want. But let's take a look at what we got here. Chris Hatch from Canada's National Observer talking about Donald Trump's rule by Sharpie. Hopefully I've highlighted something. Okay, national leaders openly trolled Trump. French President Emmanuel Macron posted memes calling for a global push to make our planet great again. Mayors across Canada and the world pledged to redouble their efforts. Within the U.S., a grand coalition of states and cities, tribal leaders and companies rallied under the banner, "We are still in." Most pinch-worthy of all, a certain Elon Musk publicly quit Trump's presidential councils in protest. "Climate change is real," he said. "Leaving Paris is not good for America or the world." That's weird. It's hard to find sane stuff. Anyways, the Americans, climate, Trump, Musk. It's a mix. Speaking of mixes, we got the energy mix. Story from January 21st talking about Trump departing the Paris Accords. Give it a read. Check it out. From the Grist, Angela highlights how California just debunked a big myth about renewable energy. Now, if folks don't know about Angela Bischoff, she works for the Ontario Clean Air Alliance. My God, I worked for them for a year and a half and I muddled that up. The Ontario Clean Air Alliance, they're working on environmental issues, climate issues, energy issues in the province of Ontario. Check them out. Excellent organization. Last year, from late winter to early summer, renewables fulfilled 100% of the state's electricity demand for up to 10 hours on 98 of 116 days, a record for California. This study really finds that we can keep the grid stable with more and more renewables, said Mark Z. Jacobson, a civil and environmental engineer at Stanford University and lead author of the new paper. Check that out, and check out Angela's Ontario Clean Air Alliance YouTube channel. I will try and link that also. She's got some great videos of Mark Jacobson on her site itself. Okay, we got what just happened here. Uh-oh. Okay, where were we? We covered that. We were just going to run a quick little clip. Heil Tesla. Let's see what this is.
It's factories like this that have made him the world's richest person. But now he's using that wealth, billions of dollars amassed by selling Teslas, to promote European far-right parties. He's vocally supporting the far-right AfD in the upcoming German election, claiming only the AfD can save Germany. The AfD is so far to the right that France's national rally leader, Marine Le Pen, will not work with the party. Members of the AfD use Nazi slogans, constantly spread disinformation and trivialise the Holocaust. In a conversation on Twitter, Musk and Alice Weidel, the leader of the AfD, both spread misinformation and falsified history. Musk claimed that Weidel is the most popular candidate for German Chancellor.
So yes, obviously very, very troubling. Richest man in the world getting involved in many, many countries' politics. Of course, supporting the fascists and the far right. And the Nazis, apparently. The new Nazis? Neo-Nazis? I don't know. But he's in favor of action on climate change. Yeah, no, we should just totally ditch Musk and find reasonable people in the world to invest in our public policy. My goodness. Atomic cover-up. The most important footage of atomic bombing of Japan was buried by the USA for decades. PBS feature. I've got about a minute of this set up for you.
So I flew to a base outside Nagasaki with a group of newspaper reporters. Later in October, I obtained enough camera equipment and film to start shooting the only color footage anyone ever shot there. First time I got into Nagasaki and saw the horror and the devastation, it was pathetic. You'd be going along streets that were in ruins and no buildings in sight. Buildings crushed as if a massive anvil had fallen down and destroyed them. People were lying by the roadside like sick animals. Going down through the city, following whatever road you could find, you'd see people in caves, in shelters, in what at one time was their home. And some of them would be searching for, picking up the remains of some family member.
Wow, that's pretty grim. I invite folks to check that out. I have not watched the entire thing myself, but I will be later. Another interesting bit that Angela has brought to our attention this week. Again, this is better in the email because it's time sensitive. So she posts this stuff on the internet as well, linking back to the news and events roundup for the week. But sometimes these things, as you know, on the social medias, it could take days if it ever does show up. But the email is super reliable. Sign up on the email list. And that goes for all your favorite people that you like to support. Give them your email address, not the giant companies. Go directly to the source for people that have their own email. Which reminds me, I should be collecting emails. I once had a very, very giant list that somehow I let slip away. Anyways, back to the show. NDP MP Angus calls for an investigation into Elon Musk over potential election interference. Now, some of you might remember I featured Charlie Angus a little bit on my last show regarding his recent book that he's put out. He's become a darling of the American left lately, and anyone opposed to Trump and the bullying that the Americans are setting upon the Canadians. So he's standing up for Canadians. He will be retiring politics shortly, but before he goes, he's still working hard. MP Charlie Angus is calling on Elections Canada to launch an investigation into Elon Musk and his social media platform. Angus wrote, Musk is getting involved in Canadian politics, praising the current leader of the Conservative Party, aligning himself with far-right influencers and their platforms, and criticizing the current Prime Minister. So this is a huge problem, not only in Canada, but obviously it was in the United States, where we saw Mr. Musk spend $250 million, like more than $250 million, to help get his buddy elected. Of course, he's interfering, as you saw earlier, in Germany, in France, in the UK, now in Canada. What a douchebag. Here we have a story. Indigenous group vows to stop nuclear waste shipments unless new deal struck. So in Ontario, there's a horrible scheme, as in other parts of the world, to bury this nuclear waste that stays radioactive for 100,000 years. And the idea is to bury it in a deep cavern protected by rock, so it's going to be safe for all time. I'm not even going to get into the problems inherent therein. But let's give a quick listen to this clip.
Leaders with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation say they are no longer willing to have their territory exploited for the production of nuclear energy and storage of radioactive waste.
The nuclear issue has the biggest footprint in SON territory, the biggest footprint bar non-environmental imprint. So we need to start getting some of that stuff resolved.
The Saugeen Ojibwe Nation is home to Bruce Power, the world's largest nuclear station, as well as a facility that stores most of Ontario's nuclear waste. Over 1 million used nuclear fuel bundles and approximately 100,000 cubic meters of low and intermediate level nuclear waste. Sown leadership says they didn't agree to either nuclear facility being constructed in their territory, but they are left to deal with their impacts.
Well, I'm a little bit mistaken. This group, this Indigenous First Nation, they're upset about a current storage facility and having this nuclear waste be trucked through their territory for that. I don't think this has to do with new or upcoming deep underground nuclear waste repository schemes. Anyways, the breach. The Breach is a fantastic Canadian independent news outlet. I encourage folks to check it out. Some great stuff. So Amazon, we talked about how they are shutting down a bunch of distribution centers in Quebec. After failing to thwart a historic unionization drive in Quebec, Amazon is now shuttering all of its operations in the province, laying off nearly 2,000 workers. A brazen attempt to punish workers in the province who achieved what many thought impossible. Workers at the Laval warehouse successfully unionized, a historic first in Canada, despite facing 2 years of anti-union tactics, intimidation, and surveillance. Amazon's move leaves 1,700 workers, many of them immigrants, international students, and people with families, jobless. Oligarch Bezos continues to amass unimaginable wealth, with his fortune now exceeding $200 billion. So there's a boycott on for Amazon. One of my Facebook friends, Tracy, you might remember her as a singer-songwriter for Ronnie the Christmas Cat that I featured a couple of months ago, last month. She was on the CBC local radio in Montreal this morning talking about the Amazon boycott. So good for you, Tracy. Keep up the good work. What do we got here? This is a petition from the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment, CAPE. Act now to save lives and protect our health from oil and gas pollution. They're inviting folks to email your MP today and call for a strong, loophole-free emissions cap that protects lives, curbs pollution, and combats climate change. So there's a lot of really excellent action-oriented material in Angela's Greenspiration News and Events, which comes out weekly. So it's not just, you're not just passive. She's saying, okay, well, you got to do something. So she's providing the links where you sign a petition, show up to an event, what have you. It's time to get active. Here is another little bit of action, a little bit of petition, Jubilee 2025. I'm not an expert in any way, but from what my feeble mind understands, the Jubilee is a biblical concept, something from the Catholic Church maybe, where I think it was supposed to be every 25 years, All the debts are canceled. I remember a Jubilee movement happening around the turn of the millennium. So 25 years later, it would make sense that we have another movement. So this is a petition from Kairos, Canada. And we, the undersigned, together with people all over the world, call on public, private, and multilateral creditors, along with political leaders, to stop the debt crisis now by canceling and remedying unjust and unsustainable debts without economic policy conditions. Prevent debt crises from happening again by addressing their root causes, reforming the global financial system to prioritize people and the planet. Establish a permanent, transparent, binding, and comprehensive debt framework within the United Nations. So, sign the petition. Another example of Christians doing good Christian work. Okay, it's not just the Christo-fascists we got to worry about and the crazy evangelicals and, the real extreme religious folks that seem to capture those dominant religions. I imagine it's similar with some of the lesser religions, but certainly Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There are radical elements in all of those that seem to pull out all the air from the room. Not to mention a great many dastardly, horrifying, murderous deeds. Okay, so we're moving along into action, but this is electoral action. Cooperate for Canada. We're soon going to be into a federal election. Canadians urgently need a unified progressive choice in the next federal election. So we've got a number of different parties that run. And the idea here is if there's a party, I imagine these folks are unifying against the right. So if there's a particular riding, a particular area where it looks like the right is favored in that area, then the other groups, the Liberals, the Greens, the NDP, maybe the Bloc, and some other smaller political parties, they'll group together and strategically support just one strong candidate to support that other right candidate. In theory, this is a good idea, but it rarely gets any traction from any of the medium to large political organizations because it might mean that they have to share some of their voters. This is a similar proposal, Sign the Pledge. This is for the Ontario provincial election that was recently called. With Ford's all-out war on Toronto, the years of delays to the Eglinton Crosstown and Scarborough subway, needlessly shuttering the Science Centre, the senseless raising of the Ontario Place, in addition to the corruption, the closed ERs, the family doctor shortage, paving over the Greenbelt for a needless highway, eliminating rent control, holding back affordable housing, and just generally being a buffoon, Doug Ford. But I got to give him a little bit of kudos. He's standing up for Canada, and it looks like he's standing up to Trump. So at least he's not like the Alberta Premier. That's another story altogether. Check out the links. Sign the pledge if you're in Ontario. And regardless of whether you're in Ontario, this is from TVO, TV Ontario. But this is excellent. Angela featured a 6-part series on TVO called Unrigged. There it is right there. But the really cool thing about this, it was produced by Dave Meslin. I don't know if he wrote it or produced it, but he's certainly hosting it. Big part of it. This is Dave's life work lately. I met Dave working with Angela and her late husband Tucker back in the 2000 Gomberg for Mayor campaign in Toronto. Dave, young man, just in his 20s, amazing activist, friend of Tucker's, and over the years he's just done some extremely fantastic work. So check out Dave Meslin, check out this series, and for that, for a little taste, we're going to just show you the opening minute and a half of this TVO original.
What images pop into your mind when you think about politics in Canada? Something like this? Or maybe this?
You son of a bitch!
We'll have some order, please. We're wasting a great deal of time today.
We can deal with this after question period.
In any other workplace, this behavior would get you fired. But this is normal for politics in Canada. We've replaced thoughtful conversation with verbal warfare. We take the party with the second largest number of seats in Parliament, and we literally call them the opposition. It's not their job to offer constructive ideas or to work towards a compromise. Their only job is to oppose.
Leader of the opposition continues on his personal and his partisan attacks.
We pay each of these folks close to $200,000 per year, and then just ask them to act as mindless opponents or supporters of legislation. One half of the room is booing, and the other half is cheering. This is exactly what voters are so sick of, the inefficient and childish battlefield that politics has become. So, can we imagine a new approach? I think so. Hi,
And indeed he does. He's just about to introduce himself as Dave Meslin. I stepped away just for a quick second. I wanted to show the book that he wrote, I believe, prior to this series coming out, but it's certainly on topic. You can check that out there. Excellent, excellent book. On the back it says, A Handbook of Democratic Solutions in Troubled Times, from the activist the media call a wizard, a mastermind, the ultimate ideas guy, a mad scientist, and a startup genius. There's some glowing reviews on the back. Tear Down, as well as Unrigged on the TVO. If you're into politics, regardless of where you are, I guarantee 100% that you will find something useful in Unrigged and in Dave Meslin's work. We call him Mez. Does he still go by Mez? Peace, brother. You're doing fantastic work out there. Okay. I tried to get rid of this. I'm stuck on the buy thing. Anyways, a large-scale climate action. This is an event coming up May 25th with a focus on geologic and green hydrogen. Green hydrogen, I guess, better than blue hydrogen. Coming up on May 20th. A lot of excellent folks. Check that out. Might be something for you to look at. Now, over to the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. It is now 89 seconds to midnight. They've adjusted their clock. In setting the clock 1 second closer to midnight, we send a stark signal. Because the world is already perilously close to the precipice, a move of even a single second should be taken as an indication of extreme danger and unmistakable warning that every second of delay in reversing course increases the probability of global disaster. They're not joking around. They've been trying to warn us. They have been warning us for decades. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. Haymarket Books is putting on an event called LA Burning, Capitalism, Climate Change, and Resistance. Check out Haymarket Books. They are excellent. They've got fantastic stuff. Join this Spectre Live event to discuss the roots of the killer fires, collective solidarity amidst it, and what must be done to prevent future climate catastrophes. Dan Boscovellen, Mega Miranda, Promise Lee, Abby Cuniff, and Joshua Frank. Star-studded cast today. Oh my gosh. You're not even going to see this in time to catch that. But hopefully it's on the web. You can catch a preview. Did I mention that this should be in an email and you should have read this like yesterday? Or maybe the day before. I think it came out on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and it is now Tuesday morning. Another fantastic event that you're going to miss. It starts in 28 minutes. What environmental nonprofits need to know about AI policy making in Canada with Katie Gibson. Webinar coming up. Oh, tomorrow you might actually catch this in time. What's next for Canada's emissions cap? You might remember the petition from earlier. Join Cape for a webinar on the emissions cap on Wednesday, January 29th, joined by experts to talk about the health benefits of a strong cap and lay out the political dynamics for this vitally important climate measure. Good for them, good for the excellent work that they are doing. Another Zoom event tomorrow you might also catch. You know what really bugs me is when they use the 0700 24-hour clock time and then put PM afterwards. No, if it's PM, there's no zero. Man, that's a pet peeve. Anyway, Sue Big Oil 101, an overview of the Sue Big Oil campaign and how holding fossil fuel companies accountable for the harm they cause BC communities is one of the most powerful things that we can do to fight climate change. So it's a little bit regional for BC, but might be something good for y'all. Speaking of BC, maybe my friend Joey Only from the Caribou Weather Report or Interior Weather Watchers, meteorological report, all the different things that he's doing on his YouTube channel, maybe he'll check that out. I'm guessing not, because I don't think he watches my show. It's important to watch your friends' stuff, support them, doing their things. Nuclear-free Thunder Bay. Mark your calendars for 1 week tonight and plan to attend Nuclear Waste Info Night at Howl at the Moon. Well, that's super, super regional. I don't think any of you will be getting into that. I think we're almost down at the end. This is the link from the end of Angela's News and Events Greenspiration newsletter for this week, January 26th through February, the beginning, 2025. Check it out. They've got some excellent stuff. They run a YouTube channel as well. Really good reporting. Really good reporting. And then lastly, of course, Democracy Now! Excellent American source of news. Amy Goodman is fantastic on there. What can we say about that? All this other stuff, yeah, went over it. Oh, as a bonus, I was going to save this for my other show, but we'll just squeak it in here. It's probably important. AI can now replicate itself, a milestone that has experts terrified. Artificial intelligence has crossed a critical red line and has replicated itself. In a new study, researchers from China showed. See if we can make that readable. Successful self-replication under no human assistance is the essential step for AI to outsmart humans and is an early signal for rogue AIs. And they go on to say, we hope our findings can serve as a timely alert for the human society to put more efforts on understanding and evaluating the potential risks of frontier AI systems and form international synergy to work out effective safety guardrails as early as possible. I commented on my social media when I shared this yesterday that I am not holding my breath. I've actually lost my breath when first reading this. Yikes. Okay, so news and events updated every Monday by Angela Bischoff at greenspiration.org. Here is the weather. Currently, windy temperature map. I'm over here in the green. We're showing, I don't know, I don't have my temperature showing right now, but it feels, when I drove the boy to school this morning, it was +3, so it's probably closer to +5. Right now we're getting very, very warm, and soon that party's going to end. We'll just run this ahead a little bit. Wednesday evening, and you can see into Thursday we're getting cold. Friday it's not looking good. By Saturday afternoon we're in the cold. Oh boy. And coming up on Sunday, this looks like a solid -25, -30 situation for good old Edmonton. Yoicks. My friend Joey Only, he's going to be cold over there. My friend Brent, the redneck hippie, he's working up over here. My friend Colin Saunders, Inuk brother, way up here in Pond Inlet. Angela Bischoff, she's down here in Toronto. And you guys all live all around, everywhere. So that's that. That is that. Giggity splat. So drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of the new format. Is this workable? This system? How's the sound? Is it a little boomy? Do I need some of those sound cushioning things? Is my light good? Is it? I don't know. Is it working? Is anybody there? Anybody out there? I'm not going to ask you to like and sub and share. It's just kind of pathetic. I mean, really, the algorithms. I got to start collecting the emails, though, because wouldn't it be cool if I could actually email the couple hundred friends that I have in real life and say, hey, check out my video. I might get above double-digit numbers. Maybe. Let's just end it. January 28th, 2025. I'm Kelly Green, and this is my show. What else is new? Cheers.